Gonna head down and shoot some black powder. I got a cylinder fully loaded, about 25 grains of Pirate XP, which in my opinion is not as good as real black powder, but it works. Black powder is easier to clean, in my opinion, somewhat, even though it fouls the gun quicker, if that makes sense. So this stuff does make you last a little longer. And you can see with my percussion caps, my homemade ones from Pie Plates, I used Primol. You can look that up online. It's primer for 22 LR. So you'll be very careful handling black powder. You want to stay away from the cylinder gap because static electricity can discharge these. It's not like your smokeless powder. You always have it pointed in a safe direction when you are loaded. And over here, I got some lead rings that I shaved off when I loaded it. So we'll blow those off. So I like shooting these with one hand. 36 caliber. And you can see the old homemade primer caps. That's what they look like after they're fired. I have a lot of fun with these. Black powder is a lot of fun, but it can be dangerous. You really need to be careful. So that looks like rust, but it's actually sulfur that burned off the percussion caps. So there you have it. 1851 Navy Colts replica. This is the brass model. Paid $220 for this. And these cheaper pistols, I would recommend going to Lake Brunel's and getting a bit that is a gunsmith bit. It's made square, so you don't strip and do this. The metal that they use for these screws is not the best quality because it's a low budget. So you can buy replacement screws though, better quality if you want. And I like the 1851 Navies. They're very accurate. Out of the box, they are not, okay? So there's videos, a couple of videos online. If you can see that notch in the back of the hammer. When you first get these out of the box, the rear sight obviously is in the hammer. And the problem was, is you were shooting a foot to 18 inches above what you were aiming at out of the box. So what I did was I took a Dremel to start the notch a little deeper, because if you cut your notch deeper, it lowers your rear sight, which forces you to drop your front sight. So it lowers your shot. And I have it sitting now where the tip of that brass bead is sitting right on the top of the notch. It's pretty damn accurate at 25 to 30 yards. That's what I sighted it for. So you have to be patient with these and sight it in by cutting into the back notch if you're shooting high. If you're shooting low, you're going to have to raise your front sight. And there is ways to do that. And if you're a gunsmith or bring it to a gunsmith, they can actually put a dovetail in here, replace the front sight. There's other types of front sights you can get. So there are solutions. You may have to fuss with it, but they are accurate. That's the point I'm making. Once you have them sighted in 25, 30 yards, they're very accurate. So anyway, that's my sighting advice for the black powder guns. And they all have to be sighted. I really have never heard of anybody online getting one, and they shoot where they're supposed to. So you should know that before buying it. That's why I'm shooting and making this video for you. So anyway, you know, and the other problem I want to keep in mind is you see my finger, cylinder gap. Black powder can fire on its own, okay? Now, for this video, with static electricity. So you could do everything right, have your hammer half cocked so it won't fire, or you could have it on the in-between where the safety is right here. Can't fire it, and it'll be fully loaded, and it'll fire anyway, because static electricity. So you might fire this cylinder, this one might fire, this one might fire and hit that wedge. Black powder is very volatile, very dangerous. Always have it in a safe position. And like I said, if you're carrying it like this, your fingertip is in the way of the blast. So I've gotten in the habit now of holding it like this on the trigger guard. I just don't do that in videos because there's going to be a comment saying, you got your finger on the trigger. Well, it isn't. It's safely like this. I just treat the black powder with a little extra respect that way, and you should too, because you don't want your fingertip up here. You just don't. All right, so I'm going to carry this with my finger on the trigger guard, keep it away from the cylinder gap. So I'm explaining that so people don't leave comments, because somebody will skip ahead in the video and didn't see where I explained that, and they'll say, you know, using good trigger discipline. Well, that's because it's black powder. I'm not putting my finger in front of the cylinder gap. So anyway, these are the percussion caps. So we're going to shoot one right now. We'll pick on this can. And like where you see that rock right there, you don't really have to pay attention too much to rocks with soft lead small caliber 36 caliber, but I definitely would not shoot something like that with a 357 Magnum. See that? That's 25 grains of powder. It's got a little extra pop in your 36 caliber. Now that's got about the same pop as a 38 special. That's what it feels like. That ain't no joke. So the manual, when you read this, says 15 grains of powder, and that is just a soft little puff. It really is. And then 20 grains, it's got a little more pop, but the most you can fit in the cylinders here and still get the ball in when you ram it down is 25 grains. So we're going to shoot the last one on this Miller Lite can because it was back talking. I don't like back talking. See that? Taught him a lesson. So there you have it. My little foray into black powder. I hope you enjoyed a little glimpse. Very fun stuff to get into. And it's a great hobby. It really is. They fought wars with this, man. How did they do that? Crazy. I've seen instances in officers' journals, one of them I was reading, where he had an 1851 Colt tucked in his belt. He was on horseback, and the gun went off by itself, and he shot himself in the leg. He recovered, but, you know, that's the life they lived, man. I love that. All right, you ornery hombres. nasty business. So we're going to take Mr. Black Powder and we're going to head down to the water side, the river side, the pond side, our rain-made lake. Always carefully pointed in a safe direction with black powder, fingers out of the cylinder gap. So we'll shoot in some soft mud. I'll probably get myself muddy. We'll see what happens. Pretty cool stuff. See, right now you're starting to get, the hammer is starting to stick. So what happens is the gun will foul out, usually right around 5 or 6 cylinders full. Real powder, it'll happen sooner. And what'll happen is the rifling in the barrel will foul out. You'll start getting bad groupings. And if you really keep shooting it until the rifling is all clogged, it turns pretty much into a smooth bore. Takes a long time to clean the lead out. It really is a cumbersome thing to shoot, but damn, are they fun. You know, that's all I got to say about that. So if you're not shooting black powder, you might want to check it out. So we're going to come down here again. Take my last shots of the day. Besides the portion that's at the end of this video. So I can feel my hammer starting to stick. So we'll just go ahead and shoot. And we have a cap that is a failure to fire, but I shall be very careful with it. We have a loaded chamber. It's pointed at the ground, finger out of the way. If you're here with other people and you have a table set up like this, you want to make sure this is pointed in a safe direction at all times. We get the correct cylinder. I'm going to bring it around like this, and I'm going to shoot with one hand from here and see if we can hit something. And we did.